Hello, good evening, good afternoon. I hope all of you are doing good. Welcome back to the reading practice sessions. Am I audible to all of you before we begin? All right, thank you. So I'll start by sharing my screen. Make sure all of you have something to note down the time or to time yourself for each question. So we'll start with reading writing questions and you have to post your answers within 2.5 minutes. Please don't take longer than that. And then try to post your answers only by selecting Language Academy in your chat box instead of everyone, so that nobody else is bothered with our answers. And then it will be followed by a discussion on each question twice. After that, you can ask your doubts, but just a request, please be very, very attentive when the discussion part is going on, so that you can very clearly see what we have missed, and you can ask that thing, and you can really note down whatever you feel like from the discussion part. So here is your first question for reading writing blanks. And you have 2.5 minutes, and then post your answers in the chat box. All right, should be done. Let's start the discussion. I'll first see what you have answered. When A and B were reached. Did you create a sentence like this? When A and B were reached at the station. Is it right English? Ample climatic extremes. Ample means a lot of. The last one is done very badly. Asia is the world's largest and most diverse continent. It dashed the eastern 4/5 of the giant land mass. Means this is the area it covers. So we can go with it covers 4/5 of the land mass. So we need with it, we need a verb with S. We have to stay in present tense because this is a fact. So anything which is not present tense or which is without S should be eliminated first. Surrounds is that it is the boundary. So Asia is not the boundary of the landmass. Asia is itself a part of that landmass. And reserves means to book for something, like we reserve a table. So we'll go with occupies. Occupies just means like it covers, it occupies 4/5 of the portion of something. Asia is more a geographic term than a dash continent. And the use of the term to describe such a vast area always carries the potential of obscuring the enormous diversity among the regions it encompasses. So the way the writing style of this sentence, Asia is more a geographic term than a dash continent. So in this way, the thing that we write after than is what we want to say no to. So if I say I prefer tea more than coffee, that means coffee is no, I don't prefer coffee, I prefer tea. The same way they say Asia is more a geographic term than a dash continent, means what type of continent it is not. So based on the text, we came to know that it is diverse continent. They said it in the very first sentence. That means it is not homogeneous. Because something, if it is diverse, it cannot be homogeneous. These two words are opposites of each other. Because homogeneous means same and diverse means it has different things, different religions, different castes, different areas, whatever different, but it is not homogeneous. Like I always say that even if there is one sentence without a blank, it is there for a purpose. It is there because you need that sentence to fill one of your answers. So you have to keep this thing in mind. We cannot say than a similar content because continent, because we are not comparing it to some other continent. Similar is same like the other one. Diverse, it is diverse, so we cannot say it is not diverse. And parallel or non-parallel are not continents. Asia has both the highest and the lowest points on the surface of Earth. It has the longest coastline of any continent, is subject overall to the world's dash climatic extremes. They said it has both the highest and the lowest points. Highest can be 50 degrees, like we get this temperature in, for example, what I know. We get this temperature in deserts, 50 degrees. And in the areas that we have glaciers, it even goes to minus 50 degrees. Like where the army and is posted, Siachen Glacier or types of places. So they said it has the highest point also in temperature and the lowest point also in temperature. Asia has everything. This is called world's dash climatic extreme. So what is this thing called? Most of you have written longest. Minus 50 to 50 degrees, the longest. Do we use long to describe temperature? So the answer was widest. Widest because this is the widest temperature range that is covered by any continent. So Asia has the widest climatic extremes. Means extreme means extreme cold and extreme hot. So it has the widest range. And consequently produces the most varied forms of vegetation and animal life on Earth. In addition, the peoples of Asia have established the broadest variety of human adaptation found on any of the continents. The name Asia is dash and its origin has been variously explained. The Greeks used it to designate the lands situated to the east of their homeland. It is believed that the name may be derived from the Assyrian word asu, meaning east. Why is this explanation given? To find out this answer. The name Asia is historical, ancient, traditional, or antique. So the name Asia cannot be antique. Antique is used for things which belong to the past, mostly for physical things like antique coins, antique monuments, antique jewelry, because they represent a time period of the past which is gone now. Name cannot be traditional. We are not trying to say that Asia is a traditional name and nowadays we have modern names. That is not the topic. Now, out of ancient and historical, because they are quite similar, that is why they gave you this explanation. Greeks used it in this way. It might have been derived from the Assyrian word asu. So these things represent ancient time, ancient people, not historical. When do we use the word historical is when we want to like we use historical as an adjective with historical building, because it has some historical significance. That building represents some event happened in the history, or some like maybe it can be the fort of a king. So it has something to tell us about the history. But ancient is when something belongs to the past, something which is of very, very past time period, but it is not something that conveys a particular event or a particular person. That is something that we use the word ancient with. When Western explorers dashed South and East Asia in early modern times, they extended that label to the whole of the immense landmass. So with when, why have we actually used when Western explorers were reached? When we say Western explorers were reached, even this, is this even right English? No. So the answer, they had used simple past tense. We will also go with simple past tense. When Western explorers reached this place, they extended that label to the whole of the landmass. Could means possibility. This sentence is not about whether it was possible for them to reach or not, right? And had reached, why will we go with perfect tense? What is the reason to go in perfect tense here when they are not using it anywhere in the paragraph, right? So go with what the context is using. So these are the answers. The first one, it covers this much area. Covers can be represented with it occupies. The second one, based on the context, it is not a homogeneous continent. It is a diverse continent. So we have to understand the writing style with than, and we have to put what Asia is not in the blank. So it is not homogeneous because it was already given that it is diverse. And widest climatic extremes, because I have explained this. So from the lowest to the highest, this is the range, and range cannot be long, range is wide. The name Asia is ancient because it doesn't represent a historical event or something that we can use historical. And the last one, when Western, Tanish, explain, give yourself an example. When students were reached the playground, is it right English? Same to you, Anita. When students were reached the playground, is this right English? Do we say this ever? When students reach the playgrounds, that's it. The second answer is homogeneous. Sorry. What else? So after than comes what is not happening, or whatever is not the thing. It's not always, Mira. So sometimes than is used for comparisons, like we say this A is quicker than B. Then also what we want to say is that B is not quicker than A. So after than comes something which in comparison to A is not a thing. That is a comparative form when we use with than V2 second form of verb. And this is an example that I gave you was tea. I prefer tea more than coffee. So that is tea is your preference and not coffee is your preference. Right? Anyone else, any confusion? widest come with the. Yes, because widest is third form of verb and third forms of verbs do come with the only. No, Lalit, we don't need an before ancient because that's an adjective, and an is important if we are using a noun starting with the vowel. So you can use adjectives without an as well, because you don't want to say one ancient. An will represent one there. We don't need to put the name Asia is one ancient. The name Asia is ancient. There's no need for number there. Where have we written widest with a? We have written widest with the world's widest climatic extremes. And here, then y is THE and then Anita, not THA and then. Okay, let's move on to question number 2. 2.5 minutes and then post your answers, please. In which recipe do we squeeze onions? This is new. Squeeze is like we squeeze the lemon on the salad. Do we squeeze onions? Do they have pulp in them? No. You are happily chopping onions for your dinner when bam, your eyes are stinging and tears are dashed down your face. So what have they used? ing form of verb. We will also go with ing form of verb, and all of you are right because this is very common. We say tears are running down her face, his face, my face. So anyway, tears are running down your face. Maybe the burning gets so bad you have to step away. Why are onions such jerks sometimes? Well, it actually comes down to some pretty dash biochemistry. Here we are not talking about whether biochemistry as a subject is easy or difficult, and absorbed biochemistry is not a kind of thing. When we read the next few sentences, they are actually explaining a story. So stories are interesting and fascinating. Fascinating is more academic, which means the same like interesting. So we will go with fascinating. Some fascinating biochemistry. Before it found its way into your kitchen, the onion plant was happily making food from the sun and absorbing minerals from the soil. It turns out that onions are particularly good at absorbing sulfur, which they use in a number of amino acids. When you cut an onion, you dash open cell after cell, releasing their liquidy contents. Here, some of you have done it wrong. Maybe you didn't know the collocation. We cannot say pull open, cut open, or squeeze open. These are no combination of words. Break open, please write it down in your list of collocations. Otherwise, to think, we cut onions is fine. We pull onions is still somewhat fine. Otherwise, we don't really pull onions. But squeeze is absolutely wrong, Rajni. No matter liquidy contents, but do we squeeze onions? Squeeze itself has a meaning, like we squeeze the lemon, like I gave the example. So don't over imagine things. Don't overthink on things. Go with the general understanding of, if it's a general topic, go with your general understanding. So please make a note that break open is a collocation. Break open can mean cut, pull, and whatever you do with an onion, because not every time we just cut it. Sometimes we pull it, right? And not every time we pull it, sometimes we cut it. But here the topic is not about cutting or pulling, that how do you actually use onions. It's about that in any form when you open the onion. So that is break open. Moreover, as I said, pull open and cut open are not collocations. Releasing the liquidy contents, previously separated enzymes meet the sulfur-rich amino acids and form unstable acids, which then rearrange into a chemical known as this. This sneaky chemical is volatile, meaning it easily causes a burning sensation when it floats up from the cutting board and comes in contact with your eyeballs in an attempt to keep your precious eyes from dash. Now, a lot of you here have written damaging. If I create a sentence using the same words, keep your children from dash. Keep your children from damaging. Keep something means prevent something from happening. So when you say keep your precious eyes from, means prevent your eyes from. If you say damaging, that means prevent your eyes from damaging someone. That will be active voice, that your eyes are going to damage someone else and you have to prevent it. But here the eyes themselves are getting damaged. So we cannot go with ing form of verb. So we need passive voice here. To keep your eyes means prevent your precious eyes from getting damaged. And what is a passive of getting? From being damaged. So damaging will mean eyes are going to damage someone. So you have to understand the concept of active and passive. I repetitively say this thing that it is going to come in the exam in 4 to 5 blanks. You cannot skip it and pass reading test. So here, keep your eyes from being damaged. The brain quickly triggers a tear response to rinse the irritant away. The sentence is complete. Irritant is a noun, so we need adjective. What kind of irritant it is? And obviously, if it is an acid, it is causing burning sensation in our eyes. It cannot be a good thing for the eye. That is why our body is trying, our brain is trying to keep it away. That means we need a negative word here. Rinse, the culprit itself is a noun. We don't need a noun. We already have the noun. We just need what type of irritant it is. So it is offending, because offending is the only negative word we have. Absorbing doesn't convey anything negative. Enriched rather is a positive word. So we'll go with offending, because it is somehow offending our brain. That is why our brain is trying to prevent our body from this irritant. So tears are running down was pretty good. Biochemistry is very interesting concept that is being explained here. So we'll go with fascinating, because it means the same, but it is more academic. Break open is a collocation. And then we have to prevent our eyes from getting damaged. Getting damaged means from being damaged. And if you go with damaging, that will mean eyes, prevent your eyes from damaging something else. And rinse the irritant, what kind of irritant? We needed a negative adjective. So we'll go with offending, because culprit is not an adjective. Culprit itself is a noun. Right? Any confusions, anybody in this question? Okay. Let's begin with the third one, and you have 2.5 minutes to post your answers for the third question. All right, should be done. The last one, Kajal. How would it feel to be the last person on earth who dash your language? So we are talking about the one person. So we'll go with the verb with S. For language, we'll go with speaking language. We don't tell languages, we speak languages. Has spoken doesn't make sense because has is present and something which has happened in the present is when we use has. But this is about future. We are just making an imagination. For those of us whose native languages have millions of speakers, it's almost impossible to imagine this thing. And yet languages have come and gone dash human history, and they continue to do so. So there's no particular time period that they have mentioned. History can be all the years, which is not the current year. So languages have come and gone throughout, because throughout means all the time period of the history. Over is used with when we talk about height and movement, that is over. Or we use over with when we say over 20 years. Generally, we have a fixed time when we use over with time. And across is used with areas, places. Across is not with history. It is with across Sydney, across Australia, across this place, means everywhere. And throughout means every time. Linguists estimate that one of the world's approximately 6,900, no, sorry, of the world's approximately 6,900 languages, more than half are at risk of dying out by the end of the 21st century. Sometimes languages die out quickly. This can happen when small communities of speakers are dashed by disasters or war. It was a collocation here. When small communities are wiped out. Why do you think they gave you this first sentence? Sometimes languages die out quickly. Otherwise, it's very gradual process that slowly and steadily less and less number of people start speaking that language or follow that language. But quickly means it happens in one go. So it happens when small communities, the whole of the community is wiped out by the disaster. Wiped out means cleared. Cleared in the sense means they die, all of them together. So wiped out is basically used when you want to convey mass dying of people because of some event that is wiped out, means nobody is left actually. We cannot go with small communities of speakers are dead, because we cannot say communities are dead. People die, communities are dead. Dead word is not used for communities now. And similarly, we cannot go with ing because they are not right now dying in front of us. We are giving a fact that when small communities are wiped out means no person is left out of that particular community because of disaster or war. For example, in El Salvador, speakers of indigenous this language abandoned their languages to avoid being identified as Indians after a massacre in 1932, in which Salvadoran troops killed tens of thousands of mostly indigenous peasants in order to dash an uprising. So with to comes first form of verb. So they killed so many people who were peasants. Why did they do that? In order to dash an uprising. Extinguish fire. Oppress. Oppress is when there's a brutal king and he uses oppression on his people. Oppression is very harsh behavior, punishment. So that is called oppression. Eliminate uprising or suppress. So the answer is suppress, because suppress means not letting something to happen. You are kind of trying your best to let that thing stop right there. So uprising would be that they were trying to do something against someone. Maybe they were trying to start a movement against something. So that's called an uprising, when something is in process. So they wanted to stop it right there. That is suppress, not letting something to happen, which is in the process of happening. That is the meaning of the word suppress. Though most languages die out gradually as successive generations of speakers become bilingual and then begin to lose dash in their traditional languages. So why do we do PTE and IELTS? You might have read at least on their website, immigration's website, to check the proficiency of the candidate in the language. So that is this, they say superior proficiency is 8 bands, I think. 7 bands is what and 6 is what? Anybody who knows? So basically with language, when you want to know how good you are at language, the word proficiency is specifically made for that. So here it should be when people lose proficiency, means they lose their command on the language. So that is called proficiency. We cannot say mastery. We have not done any mastery in language. Mastery is done in skills. For example, carpentry, plumbery, that's when we use the word mastery. Ability and skillful again are not used with languages, but proficiency is properly a noun that we use for language. Proficiency is a term in itself. So these are the answers. The first one was just an imagination. So we'll go with present tense, a person who speaks your language. And last, the second one is throughout. Throughout is used when you want to say all of the mentioned time period. And third one, wiped out, at a collocation. Wiped out means completely finished. Not a single person is left. That is wiped out. In order to suppress an uprising, because uprising means something which is in the process of happening, and suppress is to stop it right there where it is and let it not happen. And people begin to lose proficiency, means they lose their command on the language gradually. Any doubts, anyone in this question? All right. The fourth question, 2.5 minutes, and then post your answers. All right, should be done. Mobashri, do we put a first form with have? Where are your rules? Given that paper is widely believed to have dash in China, it is fitting that that country introduced paper currency. So with have comes third form of verb. So we have only two options, originated and introduced. The information about introduced is already given. So we cannot say believed to have introduced in China and that country introduced paper, because that will be same information. So when sometimes I say that this word cannot be used because it is already written, that doesn't mean that the word is already written. That is only when the next piece is also conveying the same information, then you cannot say it again and again. It is believed that China have introduced paper and that country introduced paper currency. That doesn't make sense. So we'll go with originated, means it was found there. This innovation is widely thought to have dashed during the reign of this emperor. So again with have comes third form of verb, and our noun is innovation. This innovation is thought to have occurred, begin as first form. This innovation existed during this emperor, this innovation developed, or this innovation happened. So it should be this innovation happened during this emperor. How are we selecting this innovation existed there? Means paper already existed there or paper developed there. And paper can be developed, it's fine, but can we use developed with innovation? This innovation developed under this emperor? No, this innovation happened, and happened means occurred. It was made from the bark of mulberry trees. By the late 18th and early 19th centuries, paper money had dashed to other parts of the world. So with had will also come third form of verb. Paper money had moved, so we don't move. We cannot use the verb move with money. Spread can be possible. The past form of spread is also spread. And paper money had across to, no, we cannot say had across. We need a verb. Across is not a verb, it's a preposition. And paper money had reached to. So with reached, we don't say to. We say paper money had reached other parts of the world. There is no use for to there with reached. But with spread, we do need the word to. That is why the answer would be spread. The bulk, we'll put however in the beginning. However, the bulk of this currency was not money in the traditional sense. Instead, it served as dash notes. So this is common. You might have read the word promissory notes. Even if you have not read, the next explanation was enough to select promissory. It served as promissory notes. What do they mean? Promises to pay specified amounts of gold or silver. So this is called promissory note. Promissory note, those who are accounting background, they must know what are promissory notes. But even if you are not one, the explanation was given for you people only. Currency note is not a promise. Currency note is you have settled it. Now, when you give 100 rupee, when you give $50 note to someone, you are not promising that person that I will give you $50. You have given it already. But promissory notes is when you exchange something which is just a promise that I will give you this amount of money on this date. That is called promissory note. Money or whatever, like here it is about gold and silver. Has, have, had comes with third form of verb. What are capital notes, Zoya? Is capital notes a thing? I don't know, sorry. Do we have capital notes? I mean, is it a thing? Because promissory notes is a thing. It's a piece of paper in which you have written that I promise that I will pay the bearer this sum of money on this date. Capital notes is not a thing, I believe. Anybody else, any questions? The last question for reading, writing blanks, number 5, 2.5 minutes to post your answers. Why are you people selecting answers which don't even exist in real? You also know that in your this life of 26, 30, 32 years, you have never seen that thing happening, but still you are selecting those answers. So this says Bitcoin is a currency system. What kind of currency system? And you all are right in selecting digital because it was a hype, Bitcoins, which is digital currency. It's all online thing. You don't have anything physical in that. Created in 2009 by an anonymous computer programmer or group of programmers known as this. The currency is not issued by a central bank and is not dash. So normally the currency is issued and normally currency is done something which they are saying that these things don't happen in case of this particular currency, which is Bitcoin. Means like other currencies, like normal currencies, Bitcoin is not issued by central bank, and like other currencies, it is not dash. So you have to select a word which goes with other currencies, and you are selecting organized. Who organizes currency notes of 100, 50, and 500? Have you ever heard this thing, organization of notes, currency notes? Have you ever heard monitoring of currency notes? Who monitors currency notes? Monitoring is like keeping an eye on what's happening. That's monitoring. And now customize, Anita. Who customizes 100 rupee note for you? So we all know that normal currency is issued and regulated by central bank. Regulated means keeping a check or control on it. Means you cannot you cannot issue or publish or print currency notes without any limit. It has to be regulated. It has to be controlled. Someone has to keep a record of how much it is done and how the transactions. You have to keep the gold when you want to print the currency notes. So that is regulation. Also, central bank keeps a track of the money in going in and out of the country. So all these things are regulations by the central bank of a country, right? Issue is not similar to regulated Vamsi. Issue is just that where does the money come from, as in the physical currency comes from, that comes from the central bank. And regulated is keeping a check on how much is going, how much is the inflow and outflow in import and export, how much the tax is coming, how much is the loan. So all these things are called regulations on that currency. So just think that when this demonetization happened in India, how did they know that how much currency notes are in circulation in the country? It's because of these regulations only. They had a complete track of how much money is circulating in our country. So those are regulations. So before you select an answer, like in the previous one, you selected capital notes. When in your life you saw a capital note? You saw currency note, you read about promissory note. What is a capital note? Now when I ask you what is a capital note, it's, you know what is the reason? The reason is I want to know your thought process, that what were you thinking when you selected this answer. Only then I can explain that why your thought process was wrong. So please participate, that I selected capital because I thought this, and their dash notes were just notes. A term, a thing should be existing, and capital note is not a thing that exists in real life, right? Now they say, though a decentralized network of computers keeps track of transactions. So these are the things that don't happen. But yes, there is a decentralized network of computers which keeps tracks of transactions. Things are they are keeping track of transactions. Users of Bitcoins are anonymous, only known by their digital wallet ID. The value of Bitcoins is determined by bidding, similar to the way stocks are dashed. So stocks are calculated, counted. No, we know valued is the right word that we use with stocks, because the value of the stock is determined by demand and supply in the market. Moreover, the sentence also made it clear that the topic is valuation going over here. How are Bitcoins created? They are created in a process called mining. This involves a race between computers to solve complex math problems and thus verify blocks of dash. Now, In the last class also we did, when do we use does is when we are trying to conclude what all we have said. Some of you have selected calculations here. When in the previous sentences have we talked about calculations? So in the previous sentences, we did talk about transactions. So this conclusion is about transactions and not calculations. While that may sound easy, it isn't. It is estimated that nearly 7 trillion attempts may have to be made before a dash is discovered. So with a comes a noun that should be singular. Before a results, consequence is negative result. Production, we are solving math problems, and when we solve math problems, the answer is called a solution. We don't call it a production. The same thing that I just said, Nishan. Does means something that you have already talked about. What is your topic that you are now concluding? And in the previous sentences, they did not talk about any calculations. They here also said you have to solve complex math problems. They did not use the word calculations. So does means you are now concluding whatever the explanation you were giving. An explanation was about that this centralized network of computers, they keep track of transactions. That means you're winding up with blocks of transactions and not calculations. We cannot add words from our side. We have to think what the context is trying to say. See, most of the times our answers are wrong because our answers come from our mind, not out of the context. So we actually go far and beyond from what the context is. We start imagining things that what will happen if this is the scenario. You don't have to go to will and was. You only have to stay in what the sentences are saying to you, right? So these are the answers. Bitcoin is a digital currency. It is all online. Currencies are issued and currencies are regulated. They are never customized, monitored, or organized by anybody. The third one was about valuation of stocks. How do we get the value? And then transactions based on the context. And the last one, when we solve math problem, we get a solution is the right word. We don't use result or consequence. Anyhow, results is plural. But even if it would have been singular, we cannot go with it. I hope it's now clear, Meera. Any other questions, anyone? Okay, so again, if you feel like third should be, fourth should be calculations, how can you say that they verify calculations over there? Who is telling you that what are they verifying? You are matching it with solve complex math problems and means there are two things in the sentence. One is solve mathematical problems. It is you who is connecting it with the previous part of the sentence, right? Nobody is there to tell you that what are you verifying, blocks of what do you have, right? Meera, like you say, value Bitcoin to calculate profit and loss. Where is verification here? Who told you that Bitcoin verifies what, or blocks of what Bitcoin has? So this is our imagination that Bitcoin is something in calculate and we get profit and loss. Where is verification in that part? Where is does? Where is conclusion in that part? So don't imagine things, read everything. Don't, you know what we generally do is we pick up the words that we like, we pick up the words and create our own imaginative story, and we don't pick up all the words in that case. We only pick up the words that, okay, I'll take 4 words and I'll make a story. You cannot do that, right? So guess after of comes ing form of verb if we need a verb. But we cannot use calculated in the third blanks because it is not about how many stocks. Calculation will tell you how many stocks you have, 400, 500. Calculation has nothing to do with valuation of the stock. The sentence was not about calculating that I have 500 shares of this company. That is called calculation. The topic is about valuation, so we cannot go with calculation there. Okay, let's begin with reorders. Here you have your first question. 2 minutes and post your answers. All right, a good attempt by many of you. The first sentence is D, which all of you have got correct. Environment Education Unit of Center for Science and Environment has always been working towards providing easy to understand reading material. The second was a bit confusing, but there were some things that you can never ignore. Like they said, their new publication. There means there has to be someone who is who is giving the publication. Those who have written C first, so when you write it unfolds in two sections because you are using it for this singular thing. It unfolds in two sections, which is 1 and 2. Their publication, whose publication are you talking about? Because in C, you don't have any organization. So their publication means what? Now the question which is right is they could have used its new publication. but sometimes they use the pronoun there for organizations. If they are very reputed, then they can use the pronoun there, writing it in a way that they want to refer to the people working in that organization. So the second one was B, where they said their new publication. There is referring to these organization and the people working towards it in it. So their new publication on this subject. Also, the second thing which I felt was this subject, because of which you put C first, but again we cannot ignore there. So this subject could have been this subject also. Easy to understand reading material is the subject. That is why they're making an attempt. That is why they're publishing something. So their new publication on this subject is an attempt to lend teachers a helping hand. And then it unfolds in two sections. One is this, and the second is this. So and is always continuity. And the last one, because it is not continuing with the and, it's a positive thing, just a name. So in the end, we'll go with the opposite side. However, they are introduced to students not as a paragraph to memorize, but as an activity to do. So they here refers to reading materials. So justify there with the name of organization. Yes, it was a bit confusing or could have been new to you, but yes, we can do it for organizations. A lot of you have done this correct, which is very surprising, but happy at the same time. Okay, question number 2. You have 2 minutes and post your answers. These are those types of questions. This one particularly is one of those types of questions in which you can save your time, because this is a story. First this happened, then this happened, something that we can imagine when we are reading that what's happening. So you are right in selecting D as the first one. Origin of Buddhism is ascribed to the flower sermon, the earliest source which comes from the 14th century. Then what is the story? It is said that Gautam Buddha gathered his disciples one day for a dharma talk. When they gathered together, the Buddha was completely silent, and some speculated that perhaps the Buddha was tired or ill. And then the Buddha silently held up and twirled a flower and twinkled his eyes. Several of his disciples tried to interpret the meaning of what he was doing, and one of his disciples silently gazed at the flower and broke into a broad smile. Means many people were trying to understand, just one of them, maybe he understood, that's why he gave a smile. So this was kind of a, that Buddha has called someone. So you can imagine people are coming and then they gathered and Buddha is sitting there silently, and then he gets up and twirls a flower. Everybody's trying to understand what's happening. And then one of the persons, he gazed at the flower and he broke into a smile. So easy things to imagine and understand the story. So a good attempt. Okay, let's look at number 3. You have 2 minutes to post your answers. Very well done. And it's not because you have got the whole correct answer. It's because, see, this is how they balance reorders in the exam as well. If one of the questions is extremely easy, they'll put the other one in a bit a difficult way. Difficulty can be in the terms of language, not easy to understand words, or some technical topic they can choose, like this one. Passivity is not a general topic to understand. But if you will perform like this, then you have done your work, or you have done more than what you should do. So everybody's right in selecting first A as the first one, because here you are just saying passivity is not universal. It's a very big word. Something which is universal means in the whole universe, it is accepted in the same way. So you are saying passivity is not universal, means passivity is not same everywhere in the universe. And then you take examples. Why are you saying it's not same in every in the all the areas of the universe? Because in areas where there are no lords or laws, or in some kind of frontier zone, so this would be taking some parts of the universe and trying to explain what you said, that it is not universal. So you are saying that in these areas and these areas where all men go armed, the attitude of the peasantry may well be different. That in these cases, it can be something different as well. So indeed, it may be on the fringe of the unsubmissive. Means you said it is different, means it is not submissive. However, for most of the soil-bound peasants, because you have talked about peasants which are not in peasantry, which are all men go armed. And now you're saying, but for most of the soil-bound peasants, the problem is not whether to be normally passive or active, but when to pass from one state to another. And this depends upon the political situation. Now, this depends on political situation. What can depend on political situation? When you talk about some particular country, when you talk about a city, when you talk about a state, when can I cross the border of NSW to go to Victoria? It depends upon how the political situation is. Like it was in COVID times, it was not allowed by the political scenario. So the answer to this question was already in order, and most of you have just messed up E. Otherwise, you got CD as a correct pair, which is very, very good. You have got AB as a correct pair, which is also very good. So even those who have got AB and CD 2 pairs, you have done more than what I was expecting. So it's more than enough. So a good, very good work done here. Good, very good, Isak. See, you are bound to get better. Even if you don't want to, you will still get better if you'll just listen carefully, and you will have this thing in your mind when you are starting the class, that I am not bothered about right and wrong answers. I just want to learn how this is to be done. It will take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, 1 week, 12 days, but gradually, eventually, you will get that concept in your head. Your brain will automatically start working like the discussion we do. But yes, it is different for every different individual. Someone can do it bit quicker than the other person, but those who just keep on questioning, what can I do to improve my reading, those will take longer time. So we spend 2.5 hours every day, and every day is just the answer to that question only, that this is what you have to do to improve your reading. So don't get demotivated. I know, you know, those kind of questions are just because you are demotivated, just because you are not seeing an improvement in your scores. I'm not complaining about you asking that, but I'm trying to get you out of that negative scenario that everything is right in front of you. You just have to change your mindset, your perception, take it positively, and then you will learn better. Okay. Extra knowledge. First question for reading blanks, 2 minutes, and post your answers. All right, very good. Who is this? Shivali. How do you increase the feedback of something, and especially feedback of a home or business? The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention continue to encourage time outdoors as a way to gather safely and reduce stress in dash to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. This is a phrase in response to, means because of, or in, as your answer to, as your way of responding to something. That means in response to. As a result, shade structures have become and dash part of everyday life. So with and comes something with the vowel, and it should be an adjective. What kind of part? So yes, you're right in select. Important part or integral part? What goes more with the, what is more academic, important or integral? Important is so common. Is it this question is important, that question is important? With part, we generally say integral part of something, means one of the main parts of something, that is integral. A shade structure encourages outdoor activities by providing both sun protection and physical distancing. Sentence is complete, still we have a blank. So what kind of shade structure? Important cannot come with a, and we only have one adjective here, which is customized. No other option. Shade and Net, one of America's largest manufacturers of fabric shade systems, can design a customized shade structure that will enhance the dash of a home or business. So this shade structure will enhance what of a home? So if you have a shade outside your home or your business, this is going to increase the value of. Why are you people writing will enhance the benefits of home or business. This is going to enhance the value of the property. Value of property in terms of not in terms of money, but in terms of how good the design is, how properly it has been designed, how properly you have used the space. So that would be the value here. That could be the value here. Shade structures create new usable space outdoors by covering a pool, patio, or play set, and they can dash up to 97% of UV radiation. So it can comes first form of verb, and this is to help protect skin cancer. That means they do something good. That UV radiation is not coming to the earth. So it should be it. They can block up to 97%, means not allow something to come through, that is block. Right? So these are the answers. The first one is in response to, means as a response to something. Integral part is better than saying important part. Customized, that was the only adjective we have. And customized shade structure will enhance the value of the property, because value can be both. In so many terms you have the value. So you cannot say only benefits, because even if we think that you have invested on a shade structure. So if there is a home which does not have a shade structure and you are the neighboring one which has a shade structure, so you will get a better value for your home because you have invested more. So even if we think from that perspective, value is right. It's not just benefits, it increases the value as well. And the last one, block the 97% UV radiations, means not let them enter. The second question, you have 2 minutes. Enhance and structure is singular, so after the you need a noun. It will enhance what of the home. Positive, singular and plural both can be the answers. After all the modals, we use first form of verb. Second question, 2 minutes, and then post your answers, please. Let's discuss, though all of you have written the right answers. As we head into fall and go back to school, it is more important than ever to carry on with hydration habits from the long, hot days of summer. Healthy hydration habits, because we just need to describe what kind of habits we need. So we need healthy habits. The human body is made up of 50% water. In order to dash peak hydration needs, with to comes first form of verb. We can go with in order to achieve the needs, because achieve means fulfill. Kids of age 4 to 8 dash 5 cups of water, and kids age 8 plus require. So we'll also go with require. This age group requires these many cups of water, and the other age group requires the other number of cups of water. Unfortunately, water isn't the most dash or easy to drink liquid, so we substitute it with things like milk, sports drinks, and fruit concentrates. So we are saying water is not the most tasty liquid, so that's why we look for alternatives. These substitutions offer some hydration dash. Some comes with the plural noun, so after some we have only one plural. Sports drinks and concentrates obviously cannot give us looks, but they can give us benefits. Just take a dash at the nutrition panel, so next time you reach one of these beverages. Have a comes with singular noun, have a look at, but this is look, so we'll go with peek, because peek also means look at something. Any confusions, anyone? 4 out of 6 in this, Suganya. What has happened to you? Nutrition panel is the label that we have. So we have a look at the label. We won't have a satisfaction at the label. Third question, 2 minutes, and then post your answers. Sorry. Advent is a noun, it's not an adjective. Have computers replaced dogs as man's best friend? They have certainly become an dash part of daily life for most people. So what kind of part have computers become? An adjective starting with a vowel. So we'll go with indispensable. Indispensable means very, very important, extremely important part of daily life. The first modern computers used analog systems, which were useful for solving problems and simulating dynamic systems in real time. So we need adverb, something with ly, and we had two options, especially and mainly. Especially means particularly. Mainly also can be a synonym. So what is more academic, especially or mainly? Especially is the most academic of all. Particularly, specially, mainly. The one with E, especially, is the most academic. By the 1960s, digital computers had largely replaced their analog dash. This was based on the context. These new computers had replaced their analog counterparts. Counterparts is like counterparts can be used for the computers. One computer will be a counterpart to the other computer, means of the same age and group. Though analog computers continued to be used for aircraft and space flight simulation, later there was a transition from mainframe computers to personal computers. So transition means change. What kind of change it was? So any word that can represent, that can be used as an adjective is similar. There was a similar transition from mainframe computers. What do we mean by that? Large computers that were typically shared by multiple people dash one organization. That means in one organization. And we do have within. The dash of personal computers brought computers into the individual consumer's home. So after the will come a noun, and we are left with advent. Advent can be introduction, invention, innovation, anything can be advent. Right? Any confusions, anyone? Good, this is well done. Especially is more academic than mainly, Rajni. Same to you, iPhone. In fourth. So you need an adjective here, mainly is an adverb. Transition is a noun. Whenever you have a blank before noun, you need adjective, not an adverb. Right? Okay, all good. With which we use E or ES. With which word we use E or ES, or with the word which itself? So if you're asking what do we use with the word which, S or ES? It depends upon the spellings. So if it is a building with G, you will use S, you won't use ES. So if it is figure ending with E, you will use S. Some of the words like an example of word with which we use ES. Assess, assesses. That depends upon the spelling. There's no rule behind that. The rule is with singular noun comes a word with S, and with plural noun comes a verb without S. Processes, yeah. Yeah, I'm winding up here. I'm unable to speak. We won't do the last question. We'll wind up here today. I think I've done the biggest mistake by eating just half a slice of mango. This is the result. So we'll wind up here, and I hope we would have noted down the things, you have made notes, and because we don't have class next 3 days, it's very important that whatever you have learned in these 4 days, you have to revise all those things. You have to try that all those rules are on your tips when you're coming back on Monday. You don't have to refer to your notes to recall what the rule is. Give mock tests as well, reading mock tests in the weekend. That will help you to push to manage your time, and that will help you realize that what are the types of mistakes you do when you have the time pressure, what are the rules you're forgetting when you are in a hurry to solve. So all those analyzations you should be doing on Friday to Sunday, because Monday to Thursday it's more about learning new things and concepts and strategies. But you also have to devote time to find out how much you have learned and what is your weakness and what has become your strength, right? Hopefully I'll be better on Monday. 3 days I'll keep complete silence. Bye bye. Thank you all of you for your well wishes.